Hi, Jill Fraser here, and lesson number 4, chipping, pitching. Today's lesson will cover chipping. Chipping is an approach shot that is used quite often in the game of golf. Several common phrases I like to use when teaching the skill: head still, pendular motion, club face to target, land 1/3 of the way, and roll the ball 2/3 of the way. Pick the club that lets you do that. So chipping is one of those simple strokes, and it really is just learning from experience to get it down to a science. You're basically looking at your landing spot, where you want the ball to land, and from that landing spot, how far you want the ball to roll. And you pick the club that allows you to do that. And that could be anything from a pitching wedge down through to even a 5-iron, 7-iron. So chipping is the type of shot that we use when we're close to the green, but not on the green yet. We look at two things. We look at what we want to carry, i.e., is it an apron, short grass, longer grass, and from that we try to pick the club that allows us to carry that distance and then roll to the hole. Needless to say, the idea is the closer the spot to you, the easier it is to hit. So that's why we want to work on chipping. It's a simple shot, but a very critical shot when it comes to playing the game of golf. Okay, so we have a narrow stance. Basically, our feet are going to be, I like to use the hips as a reference versus the shoulder. The shoulder width is for the longer swings. Underneath the hips is for the shorter swings. Majority of the weight will be on the target foot, and the stroke is going to be a pendular motion, very similar to the putting stroke. The top hand or your target hand is going to stay firm throughout the stroke, and the club face is also going to stay firm throughout the stroke. Basically, when you're hitting the golf ball in a chipping stroke, the top hand will face the target after impact, and the club face will hit the target after impact, or face the target after impact. And these two things are pretty well critical. Head still, no weight shift, weight on the target side, and the student's going to learn to be able to take the club back a little bit and through a little bit, and adjust according to where they want the ball to land, change clubs, and we'll do this with 3 or 4 different clubs. Get the feel of the stroke and recognize it's not the stroke that changes the result, but it's the club that changes the result. Okay, so once I have the student understand what the stroke is all about, we head to our first drill. We'll put a golf club on the green, not too far away, and get the student to create a stroke that allows them to hit the ball over the club and then watch where the ball rolls. The idea is to be repetitive, to be able to hit the spot that you're looking at. So we will continue the stroke until they get the idea of how long a swing they need to get the ball to land just over the club, and then also get a feel of how far the ball rolls with the club in their hand. Once they get comfortable with that, we'll start changing clubs, and we'll use several different clubs so that they get an idea of how far the ball will roll with the different clubs, and really understand the idea of land 1/3 and roll 2/3 of the way. We will continue this for a while, and we'll even move the club on the green so that the landing area changes. Okay, so the next drill I have for my student is what I call the towel drill. Very similar to the clock drill. I set up towels around the green so that the individual has to chip from different directions. And this gives the student a chance to feel what it's like to approach a ball when the hole is on a downslope or an upslope. If there's a break that they're seeing, gives them an idea of what to expect when the ball lands and rolls, so that they can learn to adjust their aim accordingly. It's a drill similar to why you would use it on the putting green. Gives just a different perspective, because you're not always going to approach the hole from the same direction when you're playing. So I'm creating game-like situations and getting the student comfortable so that they don't panic if they find themselves in a new situation. try to get the student to use different clubs. Again, we start pitching wedge, 9 iron, 8 iron, 7 iron are the most common when you're chipping around a green. Okay, so just to recap the chipping stroke is a pendular motion. If you take a look at this diagram, you will see there are numbers. If you take the club back to the 7 o'clock position, you go through to the 5 o'clock position. If you take the club back to the 8 o'clock position, you bring the club through to the 4 o'clock position. This will help give the individual an idea of consistency. Once this is mastered, it's easier to play around with other factors, but these are the primary factors for the novice golfers, so to speak. I like to use the body as well, so I ask the person to bring the hands back to the back knee, through to the front knee, or back to the back hip, and through to the front hip. This gives them a reference and allows for, okay, so that's it for chipping. Remember, head still, pendular motion, club face to target. Goal is to land 1/3 of the way and let the ball roll 2/3 of the way. Pick the club that lets you do that.